Christopher Columbus came to America and supposedly he was the first person, but it's fine because when you look at the maps of 1400s, North America was already discovered and there were castles drawn all over it. So who built the castles, right? Who put the castles in the country if supposedly they were just starting to explore it? All right, welcome to Peace TV Global. We are unearthing the lost civilization Tartaria. The civilization called Tartaria is a history that has been suppressed from our history books. That's the best way to describe it in my opinion. There was an ancient civilization or ancient species, whichever one you want to call it, which basically built the same type of structures all over the entire world. Some of these structures can be found in Japan, that is in Asia, that is in Russia, that is in Europe, South America, and Africa. In Mexico, United States, every single place has the exact same infrastructure, and you know that relates to this whole Tartarian history because when you look at these buildings, they call them like Greco-Roman buildings or whatever else. You see the structure or this infrastructure everywhere, right? Every part of the world, and you sit there and wonder, well, people were building like that all over the world. Maybe they were also very united and connected, right? And we have a lot of disconnect going on with our history right now. You know, they just make up our history and say whatever they feel, you know, they give us the narrative of the traditional horses and wagons, right? Everybody was on horses and wagons and they supposedly built all these beautiful structures, and when you look at the detail of these structures and how you know just the curvature and how it's etched, right, it almost looks like someone just drew into these buildings. You know, you start to think like, how were they on a horse and a wagon? They didn't have, for example, let's say maybe a crane, or they didn't have these tools or whatever it may be. They didn't even have electricity supposedly at that time, you know. So you start to look at that and go, but they were building buildings that were like 10 stories high that looked like castles, right? So when you get into Tartaria history and you start to look at all this, you see a lot of these buildings have been hijacked by basically a parasitic entity. These buildings, as you know, may be a mental institution, a hotel, you know, a school, right? It might be a university, and they usually attach some funny story like this that started in 1902. Most of the dates are usually 1903 or whatever, but the building was there before that, and that's when you get into this whole Tartarian history. When you go to look at these old maps from the 1400s, 1500s and 1600s, there were all areas of Tartaria and they showed big castles, like massive castles on the map. So you look at this and go, okay, look at how big those castles are and look at the shape of them, right? Some of them being in a star, right, like a star fort and all of these things, and you sit there and think, okay, so a person on a horse and wagon or a chariot and a horse, right? Because let's go with both narratives. They were building things that were shaped like stars and all different shapes that basically mimic the sky in the water in the middle of the ocean and all these places that it just doesn't make a lot of logical sense. And this is when you start getting into this old world history, because that's what I consider it. It's old world history. When you start getting into this topic, you start seeing a lot of the storyline does not make sense of how some of these buildings were built, and you know, you start to look at that structure and go, I don't think that adds up. And then you add weather, then you add you need water, then you need food, right? Let's say this building is on top of a mountain like Machu Picchu, which is stones perfectly put stacked on top of each other that are over 300 tons, each stone perfectly placed on top of a mountain. You know, you start to think, no, how did they get that up there, and did they have food? How did they cut them and perfectly put them into shapes and triangles and circles and stars and all these beautiful, beautiful designs? And not only that, but how did they do it out of metal, right? A lot of these old world buildings with the Tartaria thing are made out of copper, brass and gold, right? So you're telling me they were sitting, you know, making jewelry and designing these beautiful statues and structures out of gold and copper and brass and doing metalwork while putting it up on top while being on their horse and wagon, and then, you know, doing all of that on top of it. You start to go, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We've clearly been lied to. Did you know that there may have been a hidden civilization called Tartaria that predates all known civilizations? Tartaria, an enigma that baffles historians and archaeologists alike. Tartaria is believed to have flourished thousands of years ago, spanning across vast regions of Eurasia. But why is so little known about this ancient civilization? Some researchers propose that Tartaria's existence has been intentionally obscured throughout history, perhaps by more dominant civilizations seeking to erase its significant contributions. One of the most intriguing aspects of Tartaria is its architectural style, known as Tartarian or mud flood architecture. These massive ornate buildings with incredibly intricate details defy conventional explanations. The Tartarian architectural style features domed structures, elaborate columns, and intricately crafted facades that are unparalleled even by today's standards. How did they achieve such architectural prowess with limited technology? Furthermore, Tartaria's advanced knowledge of engineering is evident in its ability to create underground subway systems and complex tunnels. These achievements surpass the capabilities of civilizations believed to have existed during that time. But this hidden civilization doesn't stop at architecture and engineering prowess. Tartaria is also said to have possessed advanced knowledge in various other fields, such as metallurgy, agriculture, and medicine. Could Tartaria's knowledge have influenced later civilizations? Did they possess technologies lost to time? The questions surrounding Tartaria only deepen the mystery. As we piece together the fragments of this lost civilization, we uncover tantalizing clues that challenge everything we thought we knew about our ancient past. The story of Tartaria is a reminder that there is still so much to explore and discover about our ancient world. So, join us as we delve deeper into this captivating enigma. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed unraveling the Enigma of Tartaria, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more captivating historical mysteries. And remember, the past holds countless secrets waiting to be unearthed.